I'm doing great, Rick. How about you?
Well, I'm a little warm in Croton-on-Hudson, New York. You're up in Bangor, Maine, and Alec, you're in.
Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and it's nice and hot here. It's really humid.
Well, this is our traditional happy hour. We're so happy that everyone's here. We know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on around the country or around the world. So this is like our personal escape, right, guys? And we hope it's an escape for our viewers and our listeners. So anyway, we want to wish everyone like a happy hour. And Alec is actually going to start off today talking about. Actually, I forgot. Juan, what are you drinking?
Oh, well, I'm drinking, what my favorite beer of the summer, which is, here we go.
Sam Adams.
Sam Adams Porch Rocker.
All right.
It's a seasonal beer. It's a Radler, which is a lager with lemonade in it. It's actually really, really tasty and really, really refreshing. How about you, Rick? What are you drinking?
Well, speaking of lemonade, and I have Citra Dreams by a local brewery here. When you guys come here, Captain Lawrence, we have to go check it out. Susan loves this, very citrusy name.
Very nice.
That's the name. And Alec, you're drinking Snapple?
I'm drinking Snapple iced tea because I have a 2-hour course on macro photography tonight, and I want to be alert for it.
Cool. Well, if you're posting pictures on the phototherapy page, you're going to definitely add a topic, right?
I certainly am.
Which is a segue into today's show.
Yes, today's show is all about topics. All of the pictures that Juan and Rick have selected for tonight, they have culled by looking at the topics. They've looked at our most popular topics. They've looked at some of our least popular or less popular topics and picked the pictures that they're going to show everyone tonight. And I can tell you that if you didn't assign a topic to your image, shame on you, because it wouldn't have come up in a search tonight. So again, it's critically important that you post a topic. We even have a topic posting on how to post a topic where the screenshots are there. Just click on the topics and you'll see post a topic and you'll see the screenshots. So hopefully everybody will get on board. With that. And if you don't feel that we have a topic that fits your image, just shoot me a FaceTime message and we'll get it added. That's my promise to all of you. So Rick, with that, I appreciate the theme for tonight, and I turn it back over to you.
So you're saying we have a topic for topics on how to use the topics on the topics that you're posting?
As Ed McMahon used to say, you are correct, sir.
Well, that reminds me of, do you remember in Seinfeld when Kramer made the coffee table book?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was awesome.
Coffee table book on coffee. Right, and the little legs came out. But all kidding aside, Go ahead.
Hey, Rick, before we get started, though, I want to mention to folks this is our first Photo Happy Hour episode where we are broadcasting live both on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. So for those of you that are joining us on YouTube Live, welcome. Glad to see you guys here. And you can comment on either the YouTube Live or the Facebook Live site. If you want to, have a question or want to send a comment over to us, feel free to do that.
Hey, Juan, on that note, since you're the brains behind this operation, this technical operation here, do you think you could have your son take it? Like you have all these controllers and everything, right?
Yeah.
And you have 2 monitors. Maybe you could have your son take a picture of you with what? Can you hold up that controller, or is it like?
One of the little controllers that I use is this thing over here. It's hard to see, and what that allows me to do is switch between the different screens kind of quickly, so that it's kind of seamless. Like I can go between the 3 of us talking to just me talking, or to just Rick. Or to Alec, and then go back over to the 3 of us.
Maybe you could do a post on how to go live on YouTube and our page at the same time. So seriously, I'm going to get, and actually this is the first time we're not going to show our pictures. This is all about our super talented members. I mean, we're blown away by the pictures that we see here. Now it's not letting me share my application window. So let me try this again. I hope I don't lose you. Screen share.
Yeah, we've been having a few technical difficulties with Rick sharing his screen, his presentation. Let's hope we can get there.
Okay, share application window. Nope, still not working. Oh, man.
Can you try just sharing the screen? Just share your entire screen and then flip over to Keynote?
Yeah, I can make it a little bigger. Let's see if this works.
And in the meantime, I'm pleased to say we've got people watching on both platforms. And I see our good friend Sissy Fry Wilson is back with us this week. So it's good to know that she's on the mend, and welcome to her.
Yeah, she had a coronavirus scare, right?
Yeah.
That's not good.
An abundance of caution, I think.
Share application window.
Yeah.
And I'm just...
there we go. I think we got it. Now switch over to Keynote.
Yeah, I can't. It's not letting me do it. Hold on. Believe me, guys, we practiced this like
It
3
worked.
or 4 times. Stop
It
sharing.
worked in rehearsal.
It worked in rehearsal. Share screen. Share screen application window. It's not showing. Oh my gosh. So it's like the 11th.
So do it again. Do the share screen and then use the Control Tab keyboard shortcut to switch over to the other app. See if that works.
I think it's working.
It's working.
Well, yeah, we have the Skype window on top. Yeah, there we go. Perfect, Rick.
Okay.
Very nice.
So we're good to go.
We are good to go.
So this is the first time, again, we're doing this with all these different things going on, YouTube, Facebook. So anyway, the topic of today's post, today's show is topics. So what I've done is, and what Juan has done, we've selected some of our favorite pictures from the different topics. Actually, we're going to start off with the most popular topics, and then we're going to do some of the maybe less frequently added topics. So Juan, what do you think of this amazing landscape picture?
Well, you know, it's kind of funny because this image looks really similar.
I know.
To the Bobby Sox one that I showed the other day. And I see that this is from Steve Nimzik, who was with me in Yellowstone. So I'm sure he probably shot this when he was with me out in Yellowstone. And it's absolutely beautiful, beautiful image. A little different than, I typically shoot it, which I love. You know, like one of the things you and I talk about a lot is that when we are on workshops, we love learning from our students, right? And this is beautiful because he put those trees right in the foreground. We had some harsh light. We had these beautiful shadows coming towards us. And then he stopped down to get that beautiful sunburst. You like to say dead center is deadly, but in certain cases, dead center is beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. And or dead center is dramatic.
Right. In
this case. And I think the exposure is great. You know, sometimes you could stop down, and if you overexpose, that sunburst is like a big blur. So I think he did just a great job in the shadows and and then making it black and white. And I think you talked about this just last week or the week before when we were talking about making the picture monochromatic. You know, I definitely love this picture. And by the way, when we selected these pictures, we just selected the pictures based on, our like of the picture. So I didn't look at the names. And so you may see, more than one picture posted here by some of the members. So Alec, again, you're checking out the comments. So if people have any comments on these, maybe you could share these. But this is definitely one of my favorite landscape pictures. I love the black.
A beautiful image. Well done, Steve. You're listening.
Good job, Steve. Okay, look at this. Look at the mood and the feeling. You know, we have all these different topics. This could have gone under mystery, right? Because I think this picture has a nice sense of mystery, but this looks like a painting. This looks like I really want to be there. I mean, this is what I'm saying, that I'm learning like you were saying, I'm learning so much by looking at the awesome pictures by our members here.
Yeah, and this is, like you said, a very dramatic and moody type image. I love, what it reminds me. It reminds me of Little Red Riding Hood going through the forest, deep dark forest.
Yeah, and those shafts of light, everything's. I don't know how much. I would love to know how much processing went into this because
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
so good.
It is. It is really outstanding, really beautiful. I love those shafts of light that are coming in, and oftentimes, Rick, that's one of the things that we need to do. Right, is when we're doing selectively editing the images,
Yeah.
we need to highlight those, like those shafts of light as they're coming in, so they do kind of come out. So there's a lot of processing that goes in to make sure this image, the image comes out the way we want it.
Well, it reminds me of that Ansel Adams story where the guy goes. Remember, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where a guy writes Ansel Adams a letter, and he's unhappy when he gets to Yosemite because he says it didn't look like that. My guess is that it didn't really look like this. So, but you know what I find interesting about this? There's not too many likes or comments, and I think this is one of the most spectacular. I mean, I would be.
I wonder why.
I would be hard pressed to get an image this cool in this situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love the mood. I love the colors, and I love this kind of, some people would say, well, it's a little oversaturated, but I kind of love that oversaturation in the image. I think it works.
Well, every time I hear that a picture's oversaturated, I tell the people, do a search on Kincaid, the painter. He died.
Yes, of course.
He died a gazillionaire by producing oversaturated images, right? Bursting with color, and so it's all subjective. So anyway, for the listeners, let's give how do you say her name? Shillelagh? Let's give
Shillelagh.
Let's give her some likes. Okay, look at this one. 124 likes and 21 comments. Juan, you love seascapes and lighthouses.
Oh, lighthouses, absolutely, especially living in Maine. And actually, I recognize this lighthouse. I'm sure you have shot this lighthouse too.
I have.
This is Portland Head Lighthouse, right? Beautiful. I love the effect of the light as it's going out. Again, another dramatic shot. Maybe this was a composite or maybe an illustration in the way that they highlighted that beam of light coming off the lighthouse, but it works beautifully because he clearly shot kind of a long exposure. You can see that water nice and smooth.
Yeah.
And the composition is beautiful. Nice wide angle shot, so you get that whole little cove that the lighthouse sits on. Beautiful, beautiful light. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, Scott.
Well done, Gary.
Yeah, well done. Scott Kelby has a post on how to create that type of light, by the way, in a lighthouse. You could do a search, but I think the exposure is great. And speaking of the composition, if he had just cropped a little from the bottom, we wouldn't see that beautiful arc of that whole little cove there. So I think that adds a lot. So I don't know if Gary used what you and I call border patrol, run or rise around the border of the frame, to make sure everything we want in is in and what we don't want in is not in. But I think the composition here is just beautiful. And you mentioned the long exposure. I think that definitely adds a lot to this picture. It's stunning.
What makes it for me is that shaft or that beam of light coming off of the lighthouse, because one of the challenges here is that if you want to include that entire cove, because I've been here many, many times. Then the lighthouse is so small that you kind of lose the lighthouse in the scene when you try to create, encompass that entire cove. But the fact that you have that shaft of light really brings the eye. I mean, that's just a perfect example of how your eye likes to follow, the brightest part of the scene and follow those lines. That line that's the brightest part of the scene really draws your eye right into that lighthouse. It makes the lighthouse a lot bigger in the scene than it actually is.
Absolutely. Hey, Alec.
A lot of well dones on this one.
Hey, Alec.
Yeah.
Can you look over on the right and read who posted the fourth comment and what he said? So read read the person's name.
By Gerardo?
No, Father McLaughlin.
Yeah. So we have a priest following us. How cool is this? So we're going to ask for his blessing for the next happy hour.
Yeah, maybe we should have him on and and give us a blessing with some holy water.
You know what? Yeah. So anyway, Father Dan, I sent him a direct message earlier, so I haven't heard back from him. So anyway,
At the bottom. Okay, I see on the image. Okay.
so it's really cool. Seriously, Juan, you and I've done a lot of workshops together, and you know that we make friends, right? Sometimes
Yes.
life, like Mike and Linda. I don't know, Al.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mike and Linda are watching, or Claudia Cohen and Sissy Fry from Texas. We were all in Fossil Rim together, where Alec was. So in on the workshops, we make all these friends. But now we're making friends online during this crazy lockdown situation. So I think phototherapy has really been really good phototherapy for me. Susan knows this. She knows.
Oh, yeah.
I look forward to this. So
I was looking at the fresh comments, not the comments in the image, but people are just saying, well done, really like the image, like the depth of field,
Yes.
like the post processing. There was a question, Juan, a little bit more specificity. Where in Maine is the lighthouse?
This is in Portland, Maine. This is called the Portland Head Lighthouse. Some people say it's probably the most photographed lighthouse in the U.S.
Well, it might.
I don't know if it's true or not, but but you hear that quite often.
Well, this might be one of the best pictures. I mean, I love the sky. It looks like it's almost like 3D, like it's coming down from the top.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that mood and the texture and the color in that sky really, really makes the image. But it doesn't detract, which is exactly what you want, right? We want to be drawn to our main subject and have all these supporting actors in the scene. And the sky and that shoreline both serve as truly supporting actors. Now, I think this is a good exercise to think about it when you're looking at this. If you didn't have that shaft of light, that beam of light in there, you would have the sky and the shoreline competing with the lighthouse, right?
Yeah.
There would be kind of, you would almost kind of get lost, but that beam of light really just draws your eye right into that lighthouse. Very, very well done. Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I'd like to see the straight out of the camera shot of shots because we have that blue sky, right?
Right.
I mean, but getting back to like Kike the painter, painters, they're artists. They take liberties. So I think this is really, really cool. Okay. Susan and I, a few years ago, went down, Clive Butcher, right?
Of course.
Clive Butcher, he does these amazing pictures of these cypress trees. So Susan and I go down to Florida and we're there for a few days and we didn't get any shot as good as this. So Buddy got this amazing shot with the reflection, the detail in the trees, detail in the shadows and the moon. I love this image. Also, for the people who are posting, I think the frame that he put around it and put his name in there, people can remember Buddy's name when we see this. So this is probably just one suggestion when you post your pictures, make your name stand out.
Yeah, I mean, these, I used to live in North Carolina and we had these bald cypresses in a lot of the places that I would go and shoot. And I love shooting these cypresses because they're just such majestic creatures. And they're all covered in moss, in almond's beard, which is a type of moss, different kinds of moss. And when you get it with the moon right over them, really makes the shot. To me, the image itself with the reflection is a strong image, but what really, really makes it stand out and makes it special to me is that addition of that half moon right above it. I think even the half moon, to me, works better than having had a full moon. Makes it a little bit more different, more mysterious.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with you. And in his post, he says it's a homage to Clive Butcher, who, he would go in there, and we talk about having patience for like bird photography and other types of photography. He would like go out in his like waders and in a boat. And I mean, for our viewers and listeners, definitely do a search on Clive Butcher. His work is amazing because what he's a master at. And, I'm looking at this picture. I like those two trees like in the middle. You see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I like those two trees. But
they're being framed and your eye is being drawn to them because of that frame, right?
So, Buddy, great job on your composition here. But Clive is a master at cutting the clutter. And that's what we have to do as photographers. We see the world in 3D, camera sees in 2D. So Clive is a master at cutting the clutter, and Buddy, I think you did a great job of cutting the clutter here. And I like the little ripples in the water. A lot of people when they go for reflection say, "Oh, I really want totally flat water." Maybe that the ripple was created by the boat or whatever because it looks a little flatter behind. But Alec, what do you think?
I think it's amazing. You point out those two little trees right in the center. Right. And I just started focusing on that, and it just gave it a whole new feel and dimension to it. I'm also want to report, gentlemen, that we have people that are a little mischievous because they're jumping back between YouTube and Facebook Live.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Because I just see them. 1 minute they're in one chat room, and another minute they're in another chat room.
Oh, good. They don't want to miss anything.
They don't want to miss anything. That's cool. Okay, Rob, this is a face rock in Bandon on the Oregon coast. Susan and I have been there many times. A good friend, Alex Morley, who I do workshops, has turned us on to this place. Juan, you've been there, right? You were there with Spike.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Spike.
Yep.
So face rock is out on the top right. You see like its little face like facing upward. I love the separation here. I love the clouds. And I really like the person in here. And I think the person adds a lot. And I think it illustrates a good photographic technique that no matter how small the person is in the scene, it adds something to the scene. It adds a sense of place. And, the typical Instagram shot where the person's really small.
Yeah, no, these pictures where you have that one person element in the scene really make them stand out. Even though I'm more of a natural environment kind of person, I love those where you have one person to give you a little bit of context and dimension and depth onto the scene, right?
Yeah.
And here, at first glance, you may not see that person, but as your eye travels around the image, you inevitably get to see them and see those reflections on the water. Nicely done. I really like the juxtaposition of the rocks as well. One of the things that we always advocate is that you want to make sure you have separation between your subjects, right? And this is a situation where, you have to find the right angle to maintain separation between all those different rocks so you can actually see them well, apart. You do have a little bit of collision on the rock on the top rock on the right and the one below it, but at least there's separation between the other ones. You get to see the entire shape of them. So I hope that Rob was thinking about that when he was finding the right spot to shoot this image.
I also think the texture in the rocks. I don't know if he used clarity or a texture or whatever in Photoshop or Lightroom, but the texture in the rocks is awesome. Yet we don't have texture in the sky, so our eyes are drawn to the rocks. So I also like the way the wave there, the surf there is going from kind of like the right to the left there. It's really and you know what? If you look right in the middle, can you see my mouse moving around?
Yep.
I like the way that this is not touching not going over the horizon line. So that's another form of separation. So when I shoot, I'm always, like you were saying, Juan, I'm always looking for as much separation as possible. So great job, Rob, on that one.
Well, separation and action, right? That one, because one of the things that you want to pay attention, especially for these seascapes, and it's something that, I've run into a lot of folks that don't think about this, is you want to trip that shutter when you have some decent action on the waves, right? You don't want a flat shoreline. You want to have a little bit of action. So Rob, looked like he was paying attention to that shoreline, so you get a little bit of that wave.
Yeah, it's really, really, really cool. But I think the texture, Ansel Adams would be proud of this. Now, in the next one, so Gary, this could have been in the flower category, but he put it in the landscape, so that's why, we're using it today. But this is not an easy shot to get, right? How backlit is that sunflower? Yet we're not losing detail in the leaves, and we could see, into the shadows there. I like the very shallow depth of field. The subject's off-center. We have the rays. We have the color. I'll let you take over, Juan.
Yeah, I mean, this is as close to perfection as you can get. I've actually tried making images like this, and I've never come close to this. So it just, like you said, I don't know if he had a reflector bouncing some light back onto that sunflower, or maybe a little flash, just kissing a little bit of light onto that sunflower. But it makes all the difference in the world because we can see detail in that sunflower. We can see the transparency of those leaves, of those petals. But we still see detail in those petals, and we see details right where the seeds are. Just a beautiful, and you can't beat that sunset, right?
You can't beat that sunset, and also the shallow depth of field. Like right behind here, even the leaf here is out of focus, and here it's out of focus. So choosing your aperture is really important in landscape photography. And I say bracket with your aperture because everything looks good on the small screen, right?
Right.
So,
right.
Whether this shot at 5, 6, 8, 11, I'd say bracket your exposures by changing your aperture because you don't know. Maybe a little more, a little less depth of field would be good. But look at these comments here. People really liked this one. Okay,
That's
so
amazing.
Now you like that one, Alec, right?
Just amazing. Yeah.
Just beautiful.
So those were some of our favorite landscape shots. Now we're going to go over to flowers. This, I think, is just beautiful. I like that the main subject here is placed off center. I thought the frame was nice. And the nice, Michael just had a nice little comment here. This lovely pink rose was captured with an iPhone. So this is why I put this one first here from our selection. Because it's amazing, Susan Salmon's really good with the iPhone. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with the iPhone.
Yeah, no, it is truly amazing how far these cameras have come. And, in a situation like this, actually shooting with the iPhone is an advantage because you have such a deep depth of field.
Yeah.
And if we were using a DSLR, you'd have to have, a very, very small aperture. And even then you may not get this sort of deep depth of field that you're having here between, the very top of the flower and the very bottom petals. So, sometimes the phone is your best camera to get the shot that you want when you want that deep depth of field.
So we have great depth of field because the sensor is smaller.
Right. The sensor is a lot smaller. Sensor is, a little bigger than the tip of a pencil.
Right.
And the smaller the sensor, the deeper the depth of field. That's why, like, for example, large format cameras have a very super shallow depth of field. I mean, when you're shooting macro, having that deep depth of field helps, tremendously to be able to capture more detail in your scene. So, nicely done. And the way that he cropped it, like you're saying, the placement and the way that he cropped it is beautiful because you still see a lot of that soft petals on the side, the way that it's framing the main interest of the scene, which is, the center of that rose.
Yeah, I think the frame adds a lot. Talking about the depth of field and the size of the image sensor, I remember when the Canon Digital Rebel came out. It had a small image sensor. So people started out with the Canon Digital Rebel. They were taking pictures, and then they moved up to a full-frame image sensor. And people were saying, well, my pictures are out of focus, right? Because it had a shallow depth of field. So again, just like with the picture that we were looking at before, like this one, we say bracket your apertures because you don't know. Everything looks good on the small screen. And Susan could show you 1,000 ways to change the depth of field on this one because there's so many apps out there. So we have to have her on. I know she's listening over the house. Have to have her on as a guest here. Look at this flower picture. We were talking before, if we go back. Actually, I like showing it this way rather than full screen. We have detail here. We have a lot of detail in this really bright area of the scene. We have some detail here. And, there's an expression, shadows are the soul of the photograph. Shadows are your friend. Shadows add a sense of depth and dimension to your picture. I just love this picture. And here's the opposite of the iPhone, 150 to 600 millimeter with a 2x converter, Alec. Look at that.
With a 2x. Okay.
With the 2x converter. So, Juan, how do you feel about this one?
Well, it's the mood, right? It's just like that image that we saw earlier. The mood conveys so much. And, sometimes images like this are kind of challenging because you're trying to preserve the detail in those whites on that flower, yet you're still trying to get detail in the dark parts of the image. And And you know, they did a great. Was it Steven?
Steven.
I can't. Yeah, Steven did a great job here in capturing both of those sides, and have that shaft of light or that beam of light, if you will, focused right on the flower, really highlighting and give us that sense of kind of moody, kind of brooding type image, which focuses our attention, but still leaves kind of your mind to wander a little bit as to what may be there that we're not seeing.
Yeah. And I also like all the negative space here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stephen could have cropped it like this, but having all these shadows here, I think adds a lot. So I really love this image. Look at this one. Talking about the frames.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting. That's really cool. I wonder what this. They almost look like bananas, but they're obviously not bananas. Beautiful, beautiful image, and the frame is neat in that they picked one, the purple color from some of those some of those flowers to add to the frame. But I have to say that to me it's cropped a little too tight on the sides. Don't you think? I mean,
yeah.
I'd like to have a little bit more space on those sides. Because it just seems like it's so tight. It feels, it gives you, it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Whereas if we go to this one, we have a lot of breathing room.
Right, exactly. We need more breathing room on the second one.
By the way, if you're in Photoshop, if you want to create this type of frame, all you have to do is click on a color and then go to Edit Stroke. And then you can choose that color that you picked. So I think what Gene did, maybe, I don't know. One way to do this would be to click on the color here and then go to Edit Stroke, and you could create the exact color from within the image. But I the first thing you said, Juan, when you saw this was wow. And I think it's a very, very striking image. Okay, our friend Prati Reti is, she just got into, Alec knows her. She just got into using the Lens Baby. And we were at her house the other day, and she said that, and we have a picture coming up here. I think it's in this one. I don't know if it's in here. But a couple of people, more than a few people, are saying that photography has really saved them during this pandemic. And this was taken in the backyard. And you guys know I've been shooting birds in my backyard. Alec has been shooting birds in his backyard. And I think photographing in your backyard and photography in these crazy times has been very therapeutic and very helpful. And the depth of field here is just so shallow, but I just love the feeling of this image. Talk about removing the reality.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, it's kind of funny because you talk about shooting in your backyard, and when I give my wildlife presentations, I talk about having people shoot wildlife in their backyards as much as possible, because guess what? The backyard is the closest thing you have to go shoot. You can go to your backyard anytime and shoot as much as you want. You don't have to wait to make those 2 trips a year to some exotic destination. You can go out and make 2 trips a day to your backyard to shoot stuff. So you get your creative juices going. It keeps your camera muscle engaged. Absolutely. I always recommend people shoot their backyards, because you're never going to be able to shoot a place like your backyard. It's so close to you. You can go out there. You have 5 minutes for lunch. You can go out and make some images.
Yeah, you could go to the Bronx Botanical Gardens or Longwood Gardens. Have you been there, Alec? Longwood Gardens?
I haven't, but it's on the list. But but I agree with Juan. You could go to those places and not see the things that you see in your own backyard. There's a lot going on back there.
Right. And you get to know your backyard like no other place that you can, because I know, for example, I have some flowers in my backyard that I know attract different kinds of insects, that I know I can go there and photograph them, do macros of them. I know, for example, these tulips in the front yard that come up, I can photograph the tulips because I know when they're going to come up. I can monitor them all the time and shoot them when they're at their peak. Whereas if I had to travel an hour, half an hour to a location, you don't know where the tulips are up or what the condition they're in or anything like that.
And I love the blur here, the blur of the yellow in the background. So really,
I love these out of focus images, these shallow focus images of especially flowers. They take a little trial and error and a little artistic flair, but I think they're beautiful.
Yeah, we have a lot of members that are using the Lens Baby lenses and playing with this effect, and it's been brought on by the fact that they're in their yards.
Is Phyllis Webster with us today, Alec?
Phyllis is. Yes, Phyllis is with us.
She's an amazing photographer too. Okay, here's
my friend Linda made a comment saying my backyard is not much like Longwood Gardens. Yeah. but I'm sure you still can find something cool in your backyard.
Hey, look at this one by David Stern. Talk about shallow depth of field, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting flower. I've never seen this kind of flower before. I wonder what it is.
I don't know. We have to ask David. Not sure what he wasn't sure what it is. So I wonder if Google Images could track down what this is. So if there's any flower experts out there, let us know. But that shallow depth of field, like we were saying before. Experiment with your aperture. Of course, we could blur the background in Photoshop, or we could use the Color Effects Pro. They have that vignette filter. But the depth of field is really important. Well, the most important thing in a still life like this one, and like in this one, like in this one, like this, right?
Yeah, so we have a couple comments here. Carl Volpe said it's a Protea, and David Stern says it's a bee balm.
Wow.
Not sure which is which, or maybe they're the same. Protea may be one of the scientific names.
And David says it was a Lens Baby shot in his yard.
See that? Yeah. I think cool. Backyard is one of our topics, right, Alec?
It is.
So maybe we should do backyard. Hey, Juan. Well, we'll talk about it, but maybe backyard might be a good topic for.
A good topic to do some week, yeah.
Okay, is Stephen here? He's usually here, Alec.
Yes, he is here. He's a little late, but he's here.
Well, that's the important thing. Look at this: 141 likes, 69 comments, and this topic is beautiful bird photographs. This is just, there's so many things I like about this. The bird is like tack sharp. We have this little bit of catch light in the eye. That blurred background, again, put the background out of focus. That separates the subject from the background. It's just, what are some of the other? Oh, yeah, actually, he started this comment, this conversation, about photography. So if you click on his name, you could join this conversation, because what he was saying, he was saying basically, do we have to like all the work of pros? And we definitely don't, right? Because
we definitely don't, yeah. And this group, it shows you that amateurs create sometimes a lot better work than pros.
Yeah, I think I'm done showing my pictures.
Yeah, me too.
But Stephen is a pro. It's just an amazing. I just can't believe how sharp it is.
Yeah, I mean, I love the sharpness, the interest on the stick. This whole thing about shooting birds on a stick. It's kind of like I kind of make fun of it, but I think it's important to have a stick that's of interest, and there's a lot of interest here. Plus, the background also complements. I love how the background color complements the color of the hummingbird. I think this may be a Rufus hummingbird. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is a Rufus hummingbird. Beautiful shot. I love that. I love that profile shot. And like you said, the catch light on the eyes. I can see that little foot, that little claw holding on to that branch. There's so much detail there, so much to see, and that background is adding to the sense of depth and dimension to the scene, right? It's not detracting; it's really just adding to the image.
Well,
Stephen, I'm sorry, Rick, and Stephen points out that it was shot with a 500 millimeter lens, and the next closest tree was a long way back.
Well, yeah, it's the trick about getting those smooth backgrounds is you got to make sure. My rule of thumb is you want double the distance between your subject and the background than you are from your subject to get those nice out of focus backgrounds.
I can't believe he got that color. But we were talking about the depth of field, bracketing. Look how sharp this is, right? Tack sharp right here. You go down here, it starts to get soft. And down here, it's like a little softer. because this is either the branch might be at an angle. It's either a little closer or further away. So he shot, I can't see his aperture here, but it's just something that we need to pay attention to. I love this picture. Andre up in Canada got this shot of a puffin. I've seen a lot of shots taken of puffins. Juan, you photographed these guys, right?
Oh yeah, and if you go to the right place, there can be so much fun to photograph because, in the Gulf of Maine, there's a bunch of locations where these guys hang out, and there's a particular place in Newfoundland that I like to go to where you can actually get up close to these guys and make some incredible images. Down here in Maine is a little bit harder to photograph. There's one location that people go to, you take a boat out to, can be somewhat challenging. But I just love the coloring and the expression and the all the features. These guys kind of remind me of kind of clowns, and they kind of act like clowns, which makes it really interesting too.
Yeah, I think the overcast day. I have pictures of puffins. I have a nice picture of a puffin flying directly at me, but it's taken on really harsh light, and I wish I had soft light. So I love the soft light here. I love the eye contact. I say, see eye to eye, shoot eye to eye. So Andre got down, or he stood up to get to if he was like below the puffin. He's got that eye contact. And I think the tilt of the head, we always talk about this, the gesture is really important. But I'd like to point out one other thing here. And it might have been brought out with a perfect exposure, or B, some processing, that we have detail in these feathers here, in these dark feathers, and we have detail in the light feathers. So in Photoshop and Lightroom, we can play around with the shadows and the highlights. So getting the detail in those areas, this is like a bald eagle. One, you go up to Alaska, photograph the bald eagles with the white and and I find that I sometimes have to many times open up the shadows and tone down the highlights. But getting back to this thing that we've been talking about, Alec, maybe we could have a topic, aperture. Look at this, is tack sharp here, and right down here it starts to go soft. And I like that because our attention goes right to the eyes. It goes right to the face. So Andre, Juan, you should meet up with my friend Andre. He's doing it's planned for next year, a conference in Canada. You'd be a great presenter up there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd love to hang out, connect with him. It's kind of interesting. You mentioned the field here, the aperture, and this is one of the challenges of shooting birds, straight on. One of them is that the eyes are usually out to the sides. Mm-hmm. In the case of puffins, they're kind of more to the sides and to the front, so that works nicely. But oftentimes, because of the beak is coming straight at you, you need to have a really deep depth of field in order to get a lot of depth of field in there. So it's kind of tricky when you're shooting birds looking straight at you.
Absolutely. Andre did tell me that he fed he was feeding the puffins Cheetos here. So
right. No, he did not.
I understand.
Come on.
No wonder the puffin is so happy, because we do have a comment that the puffin appears to be smiling. So again, Rick, I think that just points to the whole idea of gesture.
Yeah, gesture is
the head tilt.
But the gesture can also be, in waves. Like here, we have the gesture of the waves. So in all our photography, I think gesture is very important. We could call this, I guess, the gesture of the light here, the gesture of the shadows. Okay, I love this bird. I would love to photograph the Stella J. One, have you ever photographed these guys?
Oh yeah, they're spectacular. You see them in the western part of the U.S. And I love the perch that this guy is on. This is one of the neat things about birds is that oftentimes, I have a rule for wildlife is no butt shots, except there are exceptions. And especially with birds, there are exceptions because oftentimes the most interesting patterns and coloring are on the back of the bird as opposed to the front of the bird. But you need to have that, throwback look. You got to have the head looking back at you because you still want that connection, the eye-to-eye connection with your subject.
And that catch light in the eye?
Yeah, catch light in the eye, and the background is out of focus, nice and soft, and you have this beautiful, interesting foreground element as well. Nicely done. I like that a lot.
Yeah, Chris, that looks like a sculpture, or right? It might be just a rock or a brand or a stump or
Yeah, it
something.
looks like almost like a driftwood.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
a beautiful piece of driftwood in that profile. And we were looking at that other picture that was a little too tight here. So I like this breathing room. I love this breathing room here.
And we have room for the bird to look into, right?
Yeah. Okay. Look at this picture by Rob Smith. I guess this is the second time he's on today. I love the color of this, right? Like I love the soft light. Well, I love the color, but look at the gesture of that. And if you look closely, we do have a little bit of catch light in the eyes, but you have to take a lot of pictures, I think, to get a picture like this.
Yeah, I mean, this is, birds in flight, BIFs are usually one of the hardest things to do because it's hard to predict exact position of those wings. And, we want those wings up or we want the wings down, right? That's sort of the rule of the game. And Rob got that right here with his tricolor hair. And the expression is great. You can see that he's coming in for landing, about to grab onto what looks like some mangroves to perch. So really nicely done. And with these, it's with birds in flight, it's a game of numbers. You got to shoot a lot in order to get the right shot that you want, to get the right expression, to get the right pose on the scene.
So a camera with a high frame rate is really important.
Yes.
And focus tracking, I'd set the camera to focus tracking. I like the little gray frame around it. And, a lot of people say, when they take bird pictures or landscape pictures, I would like some clouds in the sky. Here, this reminds me of an Audubon. Susan and I, we have two Audubon paintings, copies of Audubon paintings in our house. This reminds me of an Audubon painting. I think Rob just did, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? One you've seen.
Yeah, I have.
Actually, our buddy Tommy just made that same comment, Rick.
Really?
Yeah, he thinks looks like an Audubon print.
Tommy's been posting some amazing stuff. Actually, he posted a close-up of one of his paint images that looked like a landscape. Sissy Fry, look at this. We live on a pond. We had no goslings this year, but I love this picture by Sissy with mommy's looking right at us, and we got these cute little guys behind. I love the soft light. This is one thing we really haven't talked about, but I don't know about you, Juan, but my guess is that you would prefer photographing, wildlife in like here, soft light, right? It's just much more flattering.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the best light to use is what I call strong diffused light, which is a soft but strong light. So you do have a little bit of shadows because, as we like to say, shadows provide depth and dimension. And they're just they can come up with a bunch of different synonyms for shadows, right? That's why I like that strong diffused light, because you want that soft light, but you want just a hint of shadows to give you that depth and dimension to the scene. And you can see this here too. You can see a lot of, for example, if you look at this image and you look like below the trailing wings, not the tail, but below the trailing wings, you can see a little bit of a shadow there, where it meets the white, and that gives you depth and dimension to those wings. If you had completely flat light without any shadow potential, then you miss some of those details.
Yeah. Alex.
Yeah, beautiful comments, beautiful image with babies in tow.
Yeah.
Separation.
And Gerardo knows his Simonisms. He says, light illuminates, shadows define.
Define, yeah.
we love Gerardo.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next section, I'm trying to keep an eye on the clock. We have some pictures.
Yeah, we have 10 more minutes, Rick.
We got
minutes.
10 more minutes, so we could go through these kind of quickly, because or we could skip ahead. But
or we can save them for another day, right?
Oh, we could save them for another day. I'm actually really enjoying just watching looking at the pictures from our members. So maybe we could do this much more often. But look at Nancy Lee Kramer, Mud's picture. Almost nothing's in focus here, right? There's an expression. 1 out of focus picture is a mistake. 20 out of focus pictures is a style. So this picture is just so beautiful. And Nancy Lee is another person who's discovered, and is she here, Alec? Anyway,
I did not see her, but if you are Nancy, please just put a fresh comment in.
Yeah. Well, she's like Prati. She's really grown. Our friend Prati. She's really grown as a photographer, taking pictures in her kitchen, taking pictures in her backyard, and there's an expression. The expression is a saying. I forget who said it. I have it in one of my books. The expression is, "You don't drown by falling in water. You only drown if you stay there." And this relates to, what's going on right now. There's a lot of bad things and unhappy things and sad things, going on. But if we take control and, say, when it comes to our photography, I'm going to grow as a photographer. I'm going to challenge myself every day. I mean, I've never taken a picture of a flower that looks as cool as this. And
the art of taking these abstract nature shots is really a skill, and I love what she's done here. Just not, it's only part of a flower. I'm suspecting it's a rose, but the cool thing about it is that you get this glow on it as well. Yeah. I'm not sure if that was the lens baby that she was using, because it looks like she used a lens baby, or some after effect that was done afterwards. But that glow really added to that sense of dreamlike kind of image, that natural abstract that it's almost universally liked. So I think she did really well, very, really nicely done.
So the message is, again, you only drown if you stay there. You can create your own reality. Now look at this shot. I love Dave's shot here. It's just like, it's just exploding, right? It's like the radial blur filter in Photoshop. This picture has a lot of action to me. So Dave Morris, I think
bursts. It bursts. It bursts to life.
It bursts. And again, the main subject's dead center, but the way everything is going out is just so beautiful.
Yeah, the graphic quality of it, the way that it draws in all these different points of light, drawing you in right into the center of that flower, and not just that, but there's so much interest in the center of the flower. So that that action of getting you drawn into that center, even though it does look like an explosion, my eyes kind of want to go into the center. They draw me in. I think it's nicely done. And the depth of field is just perfect in that we see a lot of detail in the center, but we very quickly start seeing a lot of those, the details sort of fade away in the background.
Love it. Look at the mood of this one by Diane Beck. I love love the drop shadow frame here. I love the blue around it. Just a simple morning glory, which a lot of people, including us, have in our backyard. Right? She's in Gainesville.
I was looking at this thinking, was this something in space? It almost looked like an exploding sun or something like that.
Right, something out of a Star Wars. Go ahead, Alec.
And let me just say, before you even put up this shot, Diane commented that said, yes, please do this more often. This is a wonderful happy hour, meaning sharing the images of our members.
Your wish is our command.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Juan, we'll do this again next week.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually gun shy now at showing my images, so I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Well, you're gun shy. Take a look at this one.
Yeah.
Right, by Scott McNeil. This looks like Alec. This looks like one of Don Komarechka's.
Looks like the master himself.
Looks like the master himself. And what I love about this, well, not only the image, the action, the gesture of the water, the spoon, the color, the frame, the cropping. Cropping gives us a second chance at composition. And I love that Scott cropped this in like the landscape or actually a panorama format.
Yeah, no, I love this, and this takes specialized equipment because I've done these kinds of shots. You need a light sensor and a timer, and you got to make sure that you're using strobes to be able to, usually this exposure is entirely done with the flash. Your camera shutter speed is not fast enough to capture this action. So you typically have a room that's kind of dark, your shutter is wide open, and the flashes go off at exactly the right time, and they can be really, really neat. And it's just amazing what you can get when you look at something as innocuous as a water dropping. And by the way, that little drop in the center, that's not the water that came down. That's a bounce that's going back up. The water, the drop came in already, created that corona, and the wave inside pushes this little water droplet out. So it's kind of really, it's fascinating thing to photograph and see. Really
actually,
cool.
You mentioned Corona. Scott actually told me in a private message that he was using Corona. You could see the yellow. Look, okay, we're coming down the home stretch here. Look at this one talk about the depth of field. Look how sharp that you could see, every spine on the legs here, this tiny little bug down here, which I didn't see actually at first. I thought, Sammy, is that how you say the name? 113 likes. I love the, if I could go back, here's Steve's picture where the background complements this color. Same thing here, right? The yellow background. Now, I don't know what the background was, but when Susan and I were doing some macro photography, I would bring like different color, pieces of paper or some different color T-shirts, like a black T-shirt or whatever, to hold behind a subject. But I just can't believe how sharp this picture is.
Yeah, and I've photographed dragonflies many times, and they are hard subjects to photograph. Some of them are cooperative and they sit around for a while. Some of them don't. But I think what makes this image for me is the little friend down below, that little beetle climbing on that stalk. Now, again, with the other ones, I would give yourself a little more room. See how those wings are so close to the edge on the top and on the right-hand side? Give yourself a little bit more breathing room. If you were to print this as is and frame it, guess what? You would cut off those wings. They would be under the mat. So give yourself a little more breathing room, a little more space. It makes the image that much happier. And the viewer that much happier because it doesn't give that little sense of tension into the scene. But I love the depth of field, and that background just completely complements it.
Well, again, talking about the depth of field, look how sharp this is, and this area is on a different plane. It's out of focus. So pay attention to your aperture. By the way, if this happens to you, if you get like a great shot, you could try, a content expanding the canvas size in Photoshop and try content aware fill, or sometimes that doesn't work, especially when it's this close. So what I would do is I just take, this part right here, and because it's evenly illuminated, you could do this, expand the canvas and copy and paste it. So I could do that, and it's relatively easy to do. If anyone wants to know how to do that in a little more detail, I can do that. Okay, we're going to skip ahead because next week we're going to be doing this again. But another category we have here is fun. Alec, you know Tom, right?
Yep.
Tom
was actually giving us instructions on how to enlarge the size of the image. So we'll try it again.
Well, Tom is a master at composites, by the way. And I don't know if Susan Salmon's over in the house watching this, but Tom, I had the exact same smoking jacket that I bought in Hong Kong 45 years ago for like $10. So let me know if you bought that in Hong Kong. But anyway, fun is a good category, and we thought we would kind of close on fun because this is why I think everyone here got into photography. They got into photography for fun. So I love this. I love his little saying. He's been home. He's been posting. Juan's laughing. He's been posting.
This is awesome. I love it.
Very funny stuff.
And he has this purple shirt on a lot of times. Is he making any comments, Juan, when he was showing his picture here?
He's not making any comments, but I know he was on. I know he was on earlier.
Oh, this is a good one too. He says the coronavirus week 15. He stays away from negative people. Right. This year you're supposed to stay away from positive people. So you hear one.
I gotta start following him because this is awesome.
Tom. He has a great sense of humor. But he also, I'm serious, is a master at composition. But if Susan's watching this, she'll remember this. Let me see. We have a couple of. Let's just end on this one. Oh wait, what's the topic here? Oh, grateful. This is actually a great one. Great one to end on, because Juan, Alec, and I are so grateful that you guys are here, members of the Phototherapy Facebook group, and watching us on YouTube Live. Photography is really just, I don't think there's anything like it in the world that could, here Brian was in Botswana, where I've been a few times, and just to see a picture like this, you got to say you're really grateful in life to have seen a scene like this, or a scene like this in Myanmar at sunset of these beautiful temples.
Beautiful.
In Bagan. And the last one, I guess, is not that it's only 6 o'clock here in New York. Sunset's not going to set for another probably 8:30.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, another 2 hours. But look, he says, in these crazy times, I'm grateful to have been able to photograph, this camel in India. So we are really, really grateful that you guys are here. Now,
Yeah. So Rick.
Yeah,
just,
folks. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Alec.
Juan.
No, you go ahead.
Well, just a couple of things I want to mention. I think there's a comment here that captures it all. So many great shots with instructive commentary. So I think this was a big hit, and I'm happy that we had so many people watch on both Facebook and YouTube. Some of them switched as they were getting used to the technology, but I think it went very well for a first time out. But Rick, I also wanted to remind you that, speaking of our YouTube channel, you posted an interesting video on the YouTube channel that you wanted to make our members aware of.
Yes, I'm not screen sharing, right?
No.
Yeah, I can screen share you now if you want. Do you want to be? You want to
Why
screen
don't
share
we say
you?
goodbye? And can we say goodbye, Juan? And can you go out on that video?
I don't know. Maybe. Do you want me to actually do this to myself? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we did it to each other.
Yeah.
Juan and I have done a lot of projects together. If it doesn't work, we'll come back. But
I can look it up. Hold on. It's gonna take me a minute.
So anyway,
but folks, what I wanted to make sure people know is that, we talked about how we're broadcasting now on Facebook Live, but we're also broadcasting on YouTube Live. And one of the things I wanted to mention for folks that are kind of waffling between the two platforms, I would give YouTube Live a chance because the image quality is going to be higher on YouTube Live. So you'll be able to see the images a little better on YouTube Live than you will be able to see them on Facebook Live. I think the commenting system is a little better on Facebook, so it's kind of half and half. So try them both, but make sure to check both of them out.
Yeah, and I think, Juan, the tip is that when they log on to YouTube, to click the second tab that says videos, because some people were having trouble finding the live stream.
And also definitely, if you like this session, ask your friends to subscribe to not only if you're on a Facebook page, you're there, but to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we need a few more people to get our own private name. Make
sure to subscribe to the Facebook channel. That's a great point, Rick. Don't forget to do that, folks.
So how are we doing? You think we could go out on the video?
Yeah, we could go out on the video.
So we'll see everyone next week. We're going to we're going to review the pictures again. Thank you guys so much. I have so much fun doing this. Thanks to our members, and be safe.
And Sissy,
thanks, folks.
Since you
Take care.
Guessed it, this is going out to you.
She guessed it? Oh, well, go ahead. It's coming. It's like me screen sharing. Look at that smile on Alex's face because he's seen this before. Let me see what people are saying. Don't go away, people. This is worth it, right?
It's worth the wait.
Oh, it's playing, guys. It's playing.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that was it. Okay, folks, thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed that. And if you want to look it up, you can just search for Dancing with the Tripod on YouTube. It's a video that Rick and I put together about 10 years ago about something else that we were doing, and it's got 146,000 views.
We got to do, maybe we could do Dance with the Monopod or something.
Yeah, we got to follow it up with something. Okay, folks, take care until next Thursday. See you then. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.